everybody, welcome back to VMworld 2017. I'm Tim Smith at tsmith_co on Twitter, and I've got some very special guests here today.
Hey, thanks Tim. Angelo Luciani at Angelo Luciani on Twitter, community manager at Nutanix.
Anthony Hook. I'm a consulting engineer with Heartland Business Systems. Anthony R. Hook on Twitter.
Frank Milisi. I'm a systems engineer at a financial company in Boston. My Twitter handle is VM_FrankM.
And I got these fine gentlemen together just so we could chat a little bit about professional development, kind of education in the career. So, I mean, guys, what do you do if you're maybe just starting off at help desk at a customer role and you want to become that vSphere admin, or you want to just maybe go a little bit higher up the tree than what you're at now?
Yeah, I think maybe I can start.
Sure.
I think online forums are an excellent way to get started. So that's sometimes overlooked, but there's a lot you can really mine the online forums for a lot of knowledge and kind of help you kind of get a step up on what are some of the issues people face or some of their successes they see, and begin to learn from that, just sort of reading other people's experience in online forums.
That's a great idea.
And not only consuming them, reading and learning, but if you run into an issue that nobody else has asked a question about, you can ask and you can kind of be that
Right.
contributor.
Yeah. So, don't assume that nobody else has seen the problems that you've seen.
Right.
Because your problems could be unique, and so just by helping others, you're helping yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think one of the other great things about really advancing your career when you're a help desk is to not be stagnant. And it's kind of hard to realize when you're actually in a stagnant position and you're just kind of floating and drifting the way that you are. A general rule of thumb, and I hope that everybody up here agrees with me at least, is that if you don't learn one thing a day, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And that's really a big part, is keeping driven and motivated to actually keep learning things, because you will make that next step and you will progress to the next part of your career by just simply learning.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
If I could just quickly add to that, I think sometimes we get into the execution mode and we're always executing. So the cylinders are always running. I think it's important to have some think time. Set aside some think time, whether it's an hour a week or an hour a day or whatever is best for you, just to read and consume material.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had actually blocked off my calendar, and so for a while there, from 3 to 4 p.m. was my training time.
Right.
Sure.
And I had to realize that the best way to consume training or learning new things by reading was not 4 hours at a time or 8 hours at a time.
Right.
Just half hour, 45 minutes.
And people will notice that when they start studying for exams as well. Is studying for 8 hours is not going to do you anything. It's actually going to be pretty bad for you. You spend a consistent time studying for extended periods of time, it will really start giving you a brain block. An hour at a time or hour a day is a perfect way to study anything, really.
That's a good idea. Your idea reminds me. I haven't done it in a while. I should probably start again, but I would take like an hour and write down what I did for the day.
Yeah.
Steps on different things, and kind of get some notes, and that way I can kind of review that later, or helps me kind of process the stuff that I've done and what I can get better at.
That's great. I hear with exercise too, like if you start again. Don't feel guilty about it. Just start again and push again. And if you stop again, just start
and
up
you know
again.
what, judging by my size, I can say that is a fact. That's definitely a fact. Once you stop doing something, and it's hard to get back into the motions of actually doing it. Think of it as a freight train, right?
Yeah.
The freight train takes a long time to stop, but when it does, it takes a long time to get back going again. And that really is an analogy that is mostly for a career base as well. I mean, you'll see it in your career as well.
And I think just to go a little further on that topic, set aside some time to look for ways to do some what's called accelerated learning. Learn some techniques on that. Find out what's best, how you best learn material. So whether that's mind maps, outlines, or things like that. There's a accelerate, and it's not a shortcut. It's not a shortcut. It's just sort of finding how you best study.
It's like targeted learning.
Right. So look for ways of accelerated learning along your path.
And it takes some time to fine tune that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not something that you'll figure out in a day.
Right.
Pluralsight is really great. I don't want to give a
Absolutely.
plug or anything like that, but they have a really cool option where they
Right.
can actually speed your video up by 1.5 times or 2 times.
Yep.
And that is really essential because it turns that 45 minutes into learning into 30.
Yeah.
And it really makes you be able to cram that knowledge in as fast as possible, but still be able to retain it.
Okay, so we figured out, right, the different learning techniques, the ways to get the knowledge there, but what do we do once we have the knowledge, or we have a learning plan? What other ways can we get ourselves up into that more advanced position to better our professional development? What can we do there?
So I think there's a couple of things. One is blogging, so you're applying the knowledge you learned, putting it on paper, and the other thing is also teaching that knowledge to someone, whether it's in a study group, a group of folks that are going through the same material, co-workers.
Yeah.
Teaching the material helps for recall, and it really helps you get a better understanding of the material.
Yeah, one of the ways that I've done in the past is pick up a topic that I didn't really know about, and I would learn it really well, and then I would teach a coworker, for example, along DNS.
Right.
For example, starting in a help desk and you're trying to help people understand and gain some new skills, learn it really well and then teach somebody, because you learn better when you have to explain it, and that person's going to ask questions.
And it's not just about the technical, right? Because as you're teaching, you're getting better speaking skills, you're getting better personal skills.
So it's a win-win. It's a win-win all around.
Yep.
Yeah, and just back to the blog point, I mean, when I originally started my blog, I didn't really do it for everybody else. I mostly did it for myself as a personal knowledge base, and just a way that I can kind of have an outlet for my community. As my blog is not as technical, it's more community-based than anything, but there is technical content on there, and it really helps, and it feels good when somebody goes to your blog when they're trying to look for a problem that's in the same company.
Yeah.
And they see your name up the side, and they're like, wait a minute, I didn't know you had a blog in the first place. It's a great place to start, and do not be afraid of messing something up, because
Absolutely.
it does not matter. As long as you're out there and you're blogging and you're being active in the community, it really advances your career.
Right.
It almost helps when you're wrong sometimes, if you blog something and you're incorrect, because somebody's going to see that and they'll comment and correct you.
Right. Yeah.
And kind of a Wikipedia style knowledge base.
It builds that conversation, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And being willing to actually learn from that is a big part of it. If you have a problem with actually learning from people calling out your mistakes, chances are blogging's not for you.
and it doesn't end, right? So I remember when I first started, I look and I see these people are like, oh, I want to be like them, I want to be like them.
Right.
And there was a great V Brown Bag session yesterday that I believe it was Tom Green mentioned about, you are in somebody's dream job right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that never ends. I'm surprised, so with Virtual Design Master,
Right.
I mean, there's people that I would consider experts, and I watch them in this competition, and they're talking about how much they're learning.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them saying like, wow, this is like, I want to be there. And so I was able to try it a little bit this year, and it's not about not knowing, it's about what you want to learn from
Right.
it.
Yeah. And it's the way you look at it, right? Like you just phrased it perfectly. It's not what you don't know, but what you learn from it, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that to sum it up, right, is if you meet anybody in the VMware community or the virtualization community as a whole, don't be afraid to go talk to them.
Right.
I have not yet met anybody who will not talk to you or give you advice or just have a good time with you.
Right.
Sometimes they'll talk too much. But that's okay,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, thanks for joining. Be sure to click subscribe. Make sure you follow each one of these guys on Twitter and check out their blogs as well.